Saturday morning, April 14th, in 1961, a day after my 18th birthday, my mom said, "Bill, I need to tell you a story." I was in bed at the time. She says, "Let's, get dressed and let's go downstairs. I want to talk to you." At that point, my life kind of turned upside down, and I learned that my father, or the only father I'd ever known, Bob Knudsen, was in fact my stepfather. And that my real father was a guy named William B. Cuthbert, who had died in the Second World War. It was a pretty shocking morning for me when a lot of the things you thought to be true were not true. So I was a little bit taken aback, as you might expect. My mom had remarried in 1946. My stepfather had chose to adopt me, and so they raised me together as their son. Have you heard someone say? Thought about it, was mad, I guess, for a day or two. I'm not sure why I was mad, but I was. And then I kind of calmed down and came to the realization that I didn't, I wasn't, it was a decision she made. She made it at a point in her life when there was a lot of turmoil, there was a war going on. I came to love my stepfather even more at that point in time. I mean, he was a wonderful dad to me, and it's for that reason that I chose not to go on some giant quest right away to find out all about my dad and, do some big research project. I really felt like I needed to honor him and appreciate what he'd done. You go to the doctor and you take a blood test, and they say, what blood type is your father? Well, all of a sudden, I didn't know. My stepdad had brown eyes, I have blue eyes. I mean, did my dad have blue eyes? I'm 6'8", my stepdad was 5'11". How did I get to be 6'8"? Well, you have suffered enough and warred with yourself. It's time that you won. When I grew up and asked those kind of questions, my mother would always say, well, it came from my cousins and it came from my side of the family. But there's a lot of these questions about your life where kind of half of your life is missing. Were fascinating to me, and I really wanted to know more, but I decided to wait until my stepdad passed on, which he did about 8 years ago, to kind of accelerate my learning curve and spend more time on that project. I learned over the course of the last few years that my dad was buried at the American Cemetery in Normandy, France. So at that point began a journey that's been going on now ever since.